We are live. Hello, everyone, and welcome to my live stream. My name is Ronnie, and I'm happy that you chose to spend yet another Saturday afternoon if you happen to be in the European side of the world, or morning/noon if you happen to be located across the pond in the American continent right now. So thank you for joining me. Today we're going to have a very special guest that I have actually waited a while to have another chance to talk to. And I think it's going to be a lot of fun. If you've been following our publications, you already know who this guy is going to be. If not, don't worry, because I'm going to be introducing him in the next half an hour, and I'm going to tell you all about this guy and the awesome collaborations that I had with him. He's a good friend of mine. And yeah, I'm going to introduce him. And then in about half an hour, we're going to call him and we're going to have a very interesting chat with him. But first, you know that I like to start with some music. So we'll do that, and then we'll introduce our guest for today. Once again, my name is Ronnie. If you're watching this live right now, or if you're watching the rerun later, thank you so much for joining me. So yeah, we'll start with one of my favorite pieces. All right. Thank you so much. So that was one of my favorite pieces to play for sure and listen to, Crystal Silence by Chick Corea, one of my idols, at least as far as piano, jazz piano is concerned, one of my top musicians. All right. Okay. Nice. So thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed that. That was just to start you off, just to get everyone in the right sort of mood. I think it was a slow piece. It was a ballad. I think we're in a more of a chill vibe today, but we're still gonna have some very cool things in this live stream, which we're gonna get to right now, actually. So let me get my comfortable chair right here. And before I forget, just a very, very quick update regarding the channel. So, if you've been following this channel for a while, you know that our live streams usually went for about 2 hours. I'm actually going to shorten that a little bit to a standard length of an hour and a half, at least for now. I think it would be, it would be easier for me and for you as well, because, well, I always go overtime anyway. But yeah, I mean, it'll enable us to have a little shorter live streams. We're still gonna have an hour and a half on Saturdays and on Sundays, so you're still gonna see a lot of me, just a little less. So I hope you'll be fine with it. I'm sure you'll be fine with it. But yeah, so that's the little update, and then now I'm going to introduce the very lovely guest that I'm going to have today. And I'm going to tell you first how I know this guy. So if you've been following our publications, the name of our guest today is Dallas Palumbo, which is a very funny name, I have to say. That's one of the first things that I probably told him at some point. I mean, Dallas is, of course, the name of a big city in Texas. He is not from there. He is from New York. His surname is Palumbo, though he comes from a Jewish family. So but yeah, I met Dallas in the very first gig ever that my band Enigama did in New York City. Very first gig that we ever did, our debut, if you want. He was there as well with a band that he was a part of, and they were like our. I think they came after us in the lineup. But yeah, very cool band, very cool music. And I met this guy Dallas, and I even distinctly remember, like, I have the picture in my head of the very first time that we kind of shook hands, and I was like, "Hey, my name is Ronnie," and he was like, "Hey, my name is Dallas." And it's just one of those things in life that you never know when you meet a person for the first time, if they're just going to be out of your life that very day or a few days later. Some people are just like that. You don't need to meet them and hang out with them afterwards, or if they're going to stay a part of your life for many, many years even, and up until now. And that has been the case, fortunately, with Dallas, because he's an awesome guy. And I met him at that gig that I told you about. He was the drummer for that band, but I also found out, talking to him, that he also plays other instruments as well. Eventually, I brought him onto my band, Enigama, first as a drummer, because we needed a replacement drummer for our drummer then, who had to leave the country actually and go back to Brazil, unfortunately. So we had Dallas as a replacement drummer for a little while, and then I got another drummer, and Dallas started playing trumpet for us as well. So I'm going to show you a video where you're gonna see him playing trumpet, but that is not, believe it or not, that is not the only thing that Dallas knows how to do, because I found out a little later that he also started a course in sound engineering. And I was like, hey, awesome, sound engineering. How can I use that? I mean, I'm sorry, but I've been blamed in the past many, many times for like always trying to have, like, if I meet a new person, I'm like, yeah, I'm happy to see you. I'm happy to meet another new person in my life, but I'm also trying to think, well, how can I use the abilities that this person has, right? And fortunately, with Dallas, I was able to use his abilities a lot. And I mean, the better way to say it would be to collaborate with him, right? That's the way you usually say it. And not only did he play trumpet in my band Enigama, um, he was also the sound engineer who mixed all of our recordings from the Flux session, which was the first recording that we did, up to the Bunker session, which was the second recording that we did. So he both played the trumpet on that recording, and he also did the entire mixing process, which was very interesting for me as well. I think I found out when we were working together on the Bunker session, I realized a lot of things about sound engineering that we're going to talk about today. Um, and because for me, the thing that I knew about sound engineering, well, I didn't know anything about sound engineering. Let's say it that way. I came to it from the perspective of the musician who's used to just, I know what I should play. I come to the studio, I play it, it's recorded, and now it should be perfect, right? That's it, right? That's the music, isn't it? That was my perception of sound engineering. I was like, okay, yeah, of course there's a sound engineer. Maybe he opens it up on his software and he adds a little more volume here, a little less volume there, but it's not a big deal, right? That's what I was thinking. And I discovered that I was very, very much mistaken. And I was happy to discover that I was mistaken, because it opened up a whole new world for me of how to look and how to listen better to music and realize the complexities that go into sound engineering. Because it's really a lot like, I also come from the perspective of also being an actor, and having that experience of going on set and filming, whatever, and then later the editor comes and edits that, and it's kind of same sort of role. But even for an editor for a film, it's not as simple as just cutting a bunch of footage. It's much, much more complicated than that, and it's set in the film industry that there are, for every movie that you see, there's actually three movies. There's the movie that what is it? There's the movie that I think that the writer wrote, and there's the movie that the director shot, and there's the movie that the editor edited. So when the editor comes to it, he or she can make it a whole different movie. And it's the same thing with music. The sound engineer really has so much power in their hands of making the music, into something amazing or not so amazing. In Dallas's case, of course, he made it amazing, and this is why I loved so much working with him. All right, so now what we're going to do is I'm going to show you a video that we shot back when we did the promotion run for the Bunker session, which was released right before COVID started. So it was about, I think it was December of 2019. So right a couple of months before COVID started. And I interviewed Dallas. I came to his house. I interviewed him. I mean, I came to his house also just to do a lot of the mixing sessions. And I interviewed him, and we filmed it we made these behind the scenes videos that we published on our YouTube channel that you can still find. If you look for Any Gamma, that's ANY space GAMA. Just look for Any Gamma Project. You'll see our channel and you'll be able to see all of these videos. But I'm going to show you one right now because I think you'll hear what Dallas is saying about his work, about sound engineering, and it'll give you some sort of an idea about, you know, the way that he perceives sound engineering, which I think, you know, came to be the way that I perceive sound engineering as well, and the way I think it should be perceived by people in the field. So yeah, without further ado, let me just, 1 second. Let me just start my screen sharing here. Hold on. Okay, great. And here's my dear friend Dallas Palumbo talking about sound engineering. There we go. Oh, wait, I see we have. Oh, yeah. We have a message in the chat. Thank you. Thank you so much, Ryan. Thank you for watching. And thank you to Amelia as well. It's his his baby, his young, not even a year old, I think. Yeah. All right.
Because in terms of experience, I had a great day at the bunker session. You know, it was a lot of fun. The horn section, we got to just kind of like clown around. We're looking nice in our fancy clothes. We got all these cameras on us. You know, it was a cool experience. I haven't done too much stuff like that in the past. In terms of mixing, I've grown a lot as a mix engineer since I did the flux sessions. I think I'm taking a more calculated approach to mixing the bunker sessions, and I think that's reflected in the way that we go about the revision process. I remember there being a lot more mix revisions for the flux sessions, you know. Why does it sound like the trumpets in the Grand Canyon with the reverb? That kind of stuff. I'm having an easier time bringing out the character of the music that it wants to take, especially because I've been a lot more involved in the band and in the process. The songs that we do are so long and they're so dynamic, and that they have these different parts, and you really have to it's such a good opportunity to get into a mixing flow. When you're mixing so many songs, you have to keep an air of consistency throughout, and you also tend to have different goals, though, with each of the tracks. You know, you try and bring out what that track is saying. There's always something new to learn, I think, and I find that listening to people who are well established in this industry, they're always trying to break out of their own habits, never do the same thing twice.
You don't need to look through this, you know. You can see it all on the screen.
Yes, I know. I hope you edit that shit, man. I hope, yeah.
Of course I do. You think people want to see and hear every single stupid thing we do?
I don't know about you, but maybe. Oh, goddamn. Dallas.
So I wanna hear the horns like more, you know what I mean, like more full sound, full and warmer, like ba bum ba da ba da ba bum. Right.
What can I say? I mean, mixing is it's a subtle art form, and I think that's why a lot of people underestimate what's going on. And you know, I'll say before I got into it, You listen to all these classic songs that you love, and you just hear the song. You know, that's it. You hear the song, it's a whole thing. It's beautiful. And then when you've done this for a while and you start listening and you realize, wow, that's some crazy reverb he has on his vocals right there. Oh, listen to that delay on the snare. It's like going, but people don't really think about that when they're not in this field, and they shouldn't. And that's kind of why mixing takes so long, because you have the power to sculpt in like really profound and impactful ways, and you have to do just enough that it sounds really good, but that people aren't focused on what you've done. You're just highlighting what was already there in terms of music. So it takes a while. You could go in there and throw everything on 11, and you get something that sounds absolutely, crazy, and maybe doesn't serve the music, and everybody will hear, wow, the mix engineer did so much there, but it doesn't mean they're ever going to listen to it again. You have to really be open and sensitive to what you're working on. Like, each project is different. You have to get familiar with all these tools, and then you have to learn when is the right time to employ something. You want to be visible.
Yeah.
We're not necessarily, we don't say invisible, we say kind of transparent, because you're leaving a mark there and you're changing something, but you don't want people to necessarily notice it so much. You just want it to be there and for it to complement the overall picture.
All right. All right. So that was Dallas talking about mixing our project, my band from New York that I used to have in New York way back in another lifetime before COVID. My band Enigama and Dallas Palumbo doing the mixing. Which, by the way, I will mention this. I mean, Dallas got into this. When I knew him, when I started knowing him, he was just starting school on this mixing sound engineer, and then I knew him throughout when he was doing his studies, and when he finished his studies and he started working on our stuff. And then with the bunker session, there was some kind of some opportunities came together. And we got to work on two of the songs with two different other sound engineers. One of them, Pablo Araya, and the other, Andreas K. Mayer. Both of them are Grammy Award-winning sound engineers. So it was very exciting to get a chance to work with them on two of the songs. In the bunker session, there were 6 songs in total. And I intentionally I brought Dallas on with me because with us to these sessions, because I wanted him to be a part of that as well, and we got to have him working with these Grammy Award sound engineers, and I think he learned a lot. I think I learned a lot as well. There were some things that were said by Pablo, one of the sound engineers we worked with, that completely blew my mind and completely changed the way that I see sound engineering and sound in general. And this is, I think, something, Dallas is saying there in the interview that we just watched about how most people, when they listen to music, when they listen to songs that they like, they just listen to the song. They just hear the song and they go like, oh, it's a great song. I love this song. It's a great song. They don't necessarily hear all the intricacies that go into the sound engineering, and really they shouldn't, because that's not the purpose. The purpose of sound engineering is, as Dallas said, to get the character of the music out the way it wants to be, but not necessarily to be noticeable. But I do think that people would gain a lot from knowing just a little bit more, just maybe in general terms about sound engineering, because it will just enrich, I think, your listening experience. And this is something, by the way, that we're going to talk on the broadcast tomorrow. That I'm just gonna use to play a bunch of music that I really like, and maybe try and touch a little bit, even though I'm not a sound engineer, but try and touch a little bit about what at least I think makes this music so unique. But anyway, this is for tomorrow when we meet at 11 a.m. Eastern time. Make sure you you join us for that as well. But for now, what we're going to do is we're going to get ready to bring Dallas on air with us and chat with us a little bit. So let's see if we can get that up and running. Dallas, I hope you're watching this. I hope you're ready. But ready or not, I'm coming. 1 second. So let's share our screen again. Awesome. And yeah, and let's call Dallas. Oh, there we go. Hello.
Hey, Ronnie. Are we speaking? I think we're speaking.
We are speaking. Can you hear me?
Hi.
Yeah? Can you hear me, man?
I hear you.
Okay. Awesome. Good. So you are now live on the air. So say hello to all the people.
Oh, hello, all the people. It's so good to see you and to be here
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
with Ronnie.
Yes.
I can't pronounce my name right. It's Palumbo.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. My bad. My bad. All right. All
It's
right.
okay. You've only known me for like
For like
four
several years, actually. Yeah. I was trying to. You remember when that first gig was that we met? I think it must have been like 2018.
It was that house party too.
No, I remember the gig. I remember it very well. But it was 2018, right? I think that's when it was. Probably sounds about right.
I don't know.
I
But
think
did you know
so.
that the person who was running that they're in God, what the hell is his name? The guy who made Hamilton. What's his name?
Oh, Lin-Manuel Miranda.
Yeah, he's got a collective of poets,
Okay.
musicians. It's Freestyle Love Supreme.
Okay. Sure.
So they left New York and moved to somewhere, I think Vegas or Los Angeles, to join Freestyle Love Supreme as a main cast member.
Wait, but who are you? Who are you talking about exactly?
Simone, who used to run that house party.
Oh, okay.
One of her other associates too.
Yeah, I think I only have a vague idea. Like I have a picture in my head, I think, of who she is, but I probably only met her like once or twice during that house party because we got. You remember Artery? Do you remember?
No.
You don't remember Vladik?
No.
Oh, come on. Vladik.
Oh,
we met him.
Is this the cellar basement that we used to practice in?
No. Vladik was the guy who started this website where it's like the Airbnb for live shows and live performances, where you can host people in your living room. That's how we got to that house party. That was how we ended up doing that gig. It was through this website. And, yeah.
I didn't remember that until you just told me.
Yeah, actually, now that I think about it, I should probably have Vladek on the stream at some point because he's an interesting guy. Um, should talk to him about that as well. Yeah, but that's how we met. So that was 2018, and now it's 2023. So we know each
Good
other
five
for about
years.
5 years, man. That's wow.
Tremendous.
It's
Tremendous.
it's been a while, and what 5 years it has been. So I completely changed my life 180 degrees. I left New York. I started
Oh
traveling the
yeah.
states in a bus,
How's your bus?
which you've seen a bunch of times, the Mad Max bus. It looks a little better now, but
Are
yeah.
you back in the US? Are you still in Israel?
No, I'm right now. I'm still in Israel. I'm here in Israel, but hopefully I'm gonna be back soon. It's in the works. I'm working on it.
Gotcha.
As you know, it's not easy. And then you did a career shift as well. You're no longer doing sound engineering,
Well,
um,
sort of no
or
longer. I'm no longer doing studio work.
okay.
So,
Oh yeah.
so
So
I,
so do tell me about what you're doing now. Yeah, please.
yeah, and I'll also add that the Sabella Studios burned down to the ground. I don't know if you heard about that
Really?
or if I told you about that.
No,
Yeah,
you have okay. So just to give the listeners a little bit of context, Sabella Studios is the studio where Dallas worked until well, he's going to tell us until when in a second, but that's where I also recorded some parts of my next album that is
the good
going to come
parts.
out. Yes, the good parts exactly of my next album that's going to come out at some point, and we may even talk about that a little bit because I have to tell you, Dallas. I
Uh-huh.
since you left the project, I've been having a lot of I would say emotional difficulties of working on
Uh-oh.
that material
Sorry.
because I'm like yeah no I mean it's for a bunch of reasons right
Oh no.
uh, but it's also like because okay, I'll tell you why. Because you remember how basically right now, at least the way that we left it, is a bunch of the parts that we recorded. They're all there, but they're sort of mixed around. Like we stopped at the process where we tried to organize them in place. And I
Mhm.
tried like talking with a different sound engineer, not the one that you tried to connect me with. By the way, it was a different one that an Israeli friend of mine tried to connect me with. But I sent him a couple of the songs in the condition that they are, and he was like, "Yeah, it's not ready." And I
Yeah,
was and I
we
was
need
like,
like a pre-mix engineer. That's the thing that was driving me crazy. Most freelance engineers
"Yeah,
hate doing this kind of thing.
yeah,
Hate
yeah,
the
fair
organization
enough."
and hate the editing.
Fair enough, and I totally
Um,
understand that. I totally understand that. But then
you
I
could
was
work
like,
with the guy that I learned a lot of stuff from. I mean, he's busy, but
yeah,
he pretty much taught me all the techniques, and he was much better at any of them than I was anyway. Getting all the
right.
tracks aligned properly.
Right, but it was so I know that people can do that. I was having like these like, oh, but I spent so much time with Dallas talking to him and explaining to him my vision and now I have to explain it to someone else. But also it was like I got the point that I think it's on me now that I need to get in there and work cuz I don't know like all that much about sound engineering, but I can use Pro Tools in the very basic way to just organize all the tracks together the way that I want them to be,
Uh-huh.
and then go to someone professional who will be able to add like the professional touch.
Good
Is
luck.
is is what I've been wanting. Yeah, okay, thank
Good
you.
luck.
Anyway, listen, enough about that. Tell me
No
about what
small
you're doing
feat.
now because you started saying,
Yeah, yeah. Well, let me
yeah.
tell you about Sabella Studios, man.
Yes, okay, there we go. So
This
it burned
place,
to the
for
ground.
for a context,
Okay, yeah, yeah.
what it meant to me, I started interning there in my last year of school,
Right.
and it was a very special weird little magical relic of the olden days of the studio, the real project studio, that it only survived because it was in somebody's house. It was in Jim Sabella's house.
Mm-hmm.
So like he didn't have a lot of overhead, which is what caused many studios with a similar caliber or gear and approach to close, like in the early 2000s when music stopped being profitable. Or recording,
What-
the recording industry.
Was it
tanked.
ever profitable? I
Oh,
wasn't.
yeah.
I didn't.
No,
Okay.
no. I mean, well, things just worked very differently before
No, fair
the
enough.
advent of downloadable music.
Right.
Record companies would make massive hand over fist profits
Right.
from
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
sales of physical mediums.
Yeah.
I mean, whether or not that was always passed on to the artist, I think that's been a constant struggle. But
right.
once Napster took the world by storm, their profits took a massive hit.
Yeah,
And
it's true. It's something actually that I've been aware of for some time, and I just listened to a podcast this week, where they hosted this woman who's like she manages tours of like big bands, right? And she worked with like Metallica, and she worked like with other big names, right? And one of the questions was talked about is how the music industry changed, and she said exactly the same thing, and I've been aware of it that
I'm
nowadays.
petting my dog, by the way. I know it looks so weird. What am I doing right there?
Oh yeah, okay, yeah. You put him in
He's right
front of
down
the
here
camera.
sleeping.
We can.
He's
Oh,
sleeping. I don't want
okay.
to disturb him. He's being cute.
okay. Yeah, he's very cute. But yeah, the music industry has changed. Artists used, or at least, as you said, maybe the artist like getting some of the profits was depending on the artist and the kind of contract they managed to get or whatever. But most of the money was made from record sales, and then they would do like live tours to promote the selling of the records. And now it's sort of the other way around. Now musicians make most of their money from live tours because everyone can listen to their music free all the time through like platforms like Spotify, etc. So they make most of their money live touring, and then they make the records in order to promote the live touring. So it's sort of flipped on its head.
Well, I mean, really, that's relevant to what I'm talking about with the studio.
Yeah.
The fact is that record companies used to invest a lot more music in artists that were not necessarily well established.
Mm-hmm.
There weren't the same kind of metrics that there are today.
Yeah.
If you want a record deal today, even with an indie company, like a small record label, you have to have like 10,000 followers on Instagram.
Right.
You have to have like 100,000 streams a month on Spotify.
Right.
These are like unless you have that, they're not investing any money in small projects. The way that it used to be is that they had A&R people going to clubs and finding bands, or bands would submit themselves to the record companies, and you could have many bands getting financing, $20,000, $50,000 back in 1980s money, saying, here you go, small band, like, make us a record. And then they would go to a place like Sabella Studios with a nice big project budget, and they would do their project. But the way that it is now, it's all independently funded. So my whole experience there was mostly pulling teeth.
What do you mean?
Well, I mean, like, as much as I love that place, it was pretty understaffed.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't have a lot of interns. So I would even the last session that I did with you, it was like a 12-hour day. I was alone managing like 7 or 8 people. You know?
It was a complicated
and it's like,
session.
hey, like, where's the bathroom? Can you show me where the bathroom is? Hey, like, can you make some coffee? like, oh yeah, no problem. I'm just trying to do every single thing myself, managed.
I think we
people, and
had
then
one
you guys,
intern, right? We had one intern with
I-
you for some of the day. She
yeah,
she was a cute girl. That's why I remember.
oh no, yeah, no, yeah,
Yeah,
she was fine.
yeah,
But what am I trying to say?
yeah. So you were saying that the well that
Yeah,
the
but people
studio.
didn't want to pay. That's the
Yeah,
long and the short of it. Nobody cared. Nobody cared. They didn't want to pay. That's
yeah.
all. They came in for 2 hours and 2.5 hours. Well, maybe can you only charge me for 2 hours because I didn't use the whole last hour.
Mm-hmm.
Blah 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 blah. It's really always some bullshit like that. They get home. They want some changes. They want some more changes. They want some more changes. Now I've worked 2 hours on changes. They don't want to pay you anything
Yeah.
for the changes. Oh, but you're just starting out, so you should be happy that you have our business at all. Blah
Yeah.
blah blah. Bullshit.
Well, I mean,
This is why I left. This is why I left. That's
Yeah.
all. That's why I left.
Yeah.
I can't do this anymore. Every fucking Tom, Dick, and Harry has an interface and access to the program, and then they think that they know everything because they know how to operate a DAW. And operating a DAW is important. And especially like what you're talking about before, if you want to get good at editing your music and you get good at operating your DAW, that's awesome. That opens up a lot of avenues for you. But it's a whole thing. Like sound engineering is a whole thing. You know how to operate a DAW, great. You made a song, great. But you don't. There's still a lot of things to be learned. Walking up in the spot, acting like
So
King Superion.
Yeah, so we're gonna talk about all of these things in a second. I just want to give for a point of reference what Dallas is referring to DAW, DAW. I think. Can you remind me what does it stand for? What does DAW stand for?
It's a digital audio workstation.
There you go, and it's basically what you call a professional software for editing and mixing music. Things like Pro Tools. Dallas, I think you also used Logic in the past, and there's different ones. I don't even know most of them because I'm not in the field, but that's what he was referring to. Now, please tell me about the burning to the ground part before we talk about this. What happened? What's that about?
Fire happened.
That's what usually burn down to the ground means, yeah?
Yeah, I've been pretty absent from the studio at that point just because I was just kind of fed up with the whole thing.
Right, yeah.
And I had started my career started learning coding, signed up for a boot camp, so I was pretty much checked out.
Yep.
But they had some new tenants move in. Nice guy. He was a bass player. It was chill. I still don't know the specifics of exactly what happened, but at the time, the theory was that they tried to make some food and it didn't go well, and they threw the burning embers outside like it was totally burned, and then some of it flew up and ignited the roof. I don't know the whole story.
Oh my God.
But clearly some burning embers got onto the roof somehow and burned. The studio was mostly, sorry, what am I trying to say? Jim's office was in the basement. For those, again, this is why it's important to understand that this studio was in a house.
Yeah.
So the main entryway.
And I have to say that this house was mostly made of wood.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wooden house. That's shocking.
Yes.
Guess what else it had? Drywall. The top part of the house was a house. Then the garage itself was the live room, and the basement was like the studio lounge and office. So the studio lounge and office and Jim's workshop, because he was very into building amps and stuff like that. He's very into circuitry and soldering and that stuff. He literally would just do that all day.
Right.
But it was right next to an oil heater. The heater for the house used crude oil or whatever they use. So that eventually caught on fire from the fire and exploded. And
oh my God.
And it it was a huge mess. There were 40 years of tapes down there, 2-inch tapes, literally
Yeah.
40 years. Sometimes one of my best clients I ever had actually just called the studio up one day and they were like, hey, like we recorded there 20 years ago. Like, do you still have the tapes? And we had the tapes and they came in and listened to them. And then I spent like 6 months doing a session a week with this totally loaded dude who's super nice and always tipped me real well. And really, it was like just looking for an outlet to remember his glory days as a youth before he started a super successful business.
Right.
And he'd tip me $50 to be like, yeah, I can't come in next week. My family's going to Bora Bora.
Okay.
That
All
kind
right.
of thing. But anyway, so that's something else. But anyway, they burned
Yeah,
down, big
but
fire, explosion.
all the equipment as well, the tape, the equipment, like
Well,
that place.
Most of the equipment was upstairs though. So
Oh, okay.
So the equipment didn't all burn.
Okay.
A lot of the microphones so the fire didn't touch the live room and it didn't touch the
Okay.
studio
All right. So it's much
portion,
better
actually.
than what I imagined in my head.
Yeah, but I mean the studio's not operational anymore.
No,
The house burned down.
Totally.
But,
yeah. Man.
The fire people came in and the motherfucking guy, bass player who's probably responsible for this fire in the first place,
Right.
says, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to let the firemen in through the studio entrance in the side.
Okay.
Total fucking asshole, asshat, jackass, stupid fucking
Why?
idiot.
Why?
Why?
Is that?
Because the studio had huge, thick doors. I'm talking like 7-inch thick doors.
Right. Yeah.
Protecting it from the fire.
Yeah.
If he had not opened those doors, there would have been almost no smoke damage even. But instead,
I see.
all the smoke gets in. The firefighters take their hose and they rest it on the fucking console.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous, so there was a lot of damage done and a lot of smoke got up in there. Luckily, there was a session that was supposed to be on for the next day, so most of our nice microphones were set up in the live room already. But that's it. Big fire burned down. 40 years of Jim's life is gone in an instant. So
that's a shame, man.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's a shame. I think the other guys who worked there, they found new places to work, mostly at the Mix Palace. I think one of them is working at, and the other one, I'm not sure what location they're at. But that's sad. That's what it is. No more Sabella Studios.
Yeah, and it's a shame because I mentioned the wood part just because. I mean, I distinctly remember there was a lot of like the place was really beautiful. It wasn't just a good studio. It was also very aesthetically like a great place to work in. Yeah, that's a shame. I mean, you said that the live room sort of, but yeah, I mean, I get what you're saying.
I mean, I haven't seen it since that first day, but I have some fucked up pictures. Really, just a total mess, total absolute mess. But anyway, besides that, so right now the only audio work that I'm doing is we're the wedding band. So I go out, so I pretty much switched to live sound. For any of you out there who might be considering a career in audio, just know that live sound is where you're probably going to end up if you like eating and having a house, like a roof over your head.
Yeah.
And the idea of putting in incredible amounts of free labor doesn't sound too good, because that's, before they let me be an engineer at that studio.
Yeah.
Even when nothing was going on, I raked the leaves every day for like a year and a half. For just free manual labor. Like, here you go. Then when nothing's going on, you get in there and you work on stuff. So yeah, it's a tough path, but there's a lot more money in live sound.
Yeah.
So I work with the wedding band. I work at the Williamsburg Music Hall. I did a shift there last night.
Oh, that's awesome. I'm really happy to hear that, man, because when you told me that you're you're kind of you're switching to like you're learning coding and all that. I was like, of course I understand. Of course I understand where you're coming from. And I was like a part of me is very much like it was very happy for you because I said, okay, great. He's gonna do this thing that is actually gonna earn him money. And as you said, like we all like having a roof above our head and eating and stuff like that. So that's obviously important. But then another part of me was like, oh man, like we lost another one. Like another one bites the dust, you know? Like we lost another good guy to the fight kind of feeling. But I'm happy to know that you're still doing live sound and all that. Cause,
well, I mean, you know, you can make a decent living doing live sound. There's no doubt about that, especially when you get into corporate audio stuff. I worked mostly like load-ins and load-outs, which is just pushing heavy shit for this company that did corporate audio. But their A1s, front of house guys, would show up for a 12-hour minimum call, and I think they must be making at least 60 an hour now, maybe 65.
Wow.
And the call's not always 12 hours. So sometimes they show up and work a 6-hour day and they walk out, you know, with a paycheck coming at them for $650, $700.
That's
for that
awesome.
day.
That's great.
It can be a good career. It's just, you know, like anything like that, it's highly competitive. There's one audio job for, you know, for in that instance. The hours are one major thing that are making me want to get out of this career because I come home, like last night I got home at like 1:20.
Wow.
You know, usually if I leave for a gig, I'm not coming home before midnight. So but then the hours can also be insane. Like I had a 14.5-hour day on Tuesday.
Right.
Which is, you know, the money is nice to get paid, but at the same time it's like, well, miserable at the end of the day. So
and okay, so let me ask you about that. So I want to get you to talk about a little bit about sound engineering and what you like so much about it, like what got you to to start learning it, but also
doing it.
But also I kind of want to but obviously, I mean, what I noticed about you, and I think it would have to be true about most sound engineers, is that, you know, you go to this profession not just because of the money, but you also love mixing music, or you love music. And I also wanted to ask, like, I wanted you to talk about that, and also if the work that you're doing now in the live music that you've talked about, other than the money, which can be good, does it also, like, do you also enjoy the musicality of it? Do you also feel like you are, you know?
Yeah, I enjoy it a lot more than working in the studio.
Okay.
And I mean, I don't really mix at the music hall. I just do stage manager stuff. Which is, you know, I'm side stage, but I'm mostly concerned with routing and patching and power. So I don't actually have to mix, which is fine. But when I'm with the wedding band, I mix everything and I do everything. But long story short, the reason I really like it is because you see the people that are enjoying the music right in front of you. They're right there. They're having a blast. The artists are typically much more grateful. I've had like rare occurrences where you're just with a total idiot. And you just have had screaming matches in front of the PA with total assholes. But 90% of the time, the artists are grateful and they're like, thank you so much for helping. Thank you for being attentive to me, because they, you know, when they ask for something in, like, I need a little bit more of this and that, and their monitors or their in-ears, and you give it to them, they're happy. And so, and it's done and it's done. You know what I mean? Nobody's calling me up or texting me at 1 a.m. asking if I can get them changes to the performance. No, the performance happened already. And it was fun, and it typically pays good, you know? And especially that wedding band that I work for, they pay me in cash. So I love them.
Yeah, that's always nice. Yeah.
Yeah. but it's just more. It's just all the same, you know. Like a lot of it can be traveling, a lot of travel. You know, half the time my weddings are in New Jersey or some crazy,
Uh-huh.
crazy place.
The far, far place that is New Jersey. I mean, you live in New York. It's not that far away.
Yeah, but you know, when you're driving, when you're driving,
Yeah, fair
you know,
enough. No,
an
it
hour and
takes
a
a long
half.
time. It takes a long
Yeah, an
time.
hour and a
Yeah.
half, two
Yeah.
hours,
Each direction.
and then it ends. Yeah, it can be yeah, a big pain in the ass. So I you know, it's good. I really enjoy a lot of aspects of it. There's no doubt. I certainly enjoy it, and people tell me I'm good. So
there you go.
that's good.
There you go. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. I mean, I think I told you that you were good when you were doing studio work as well. But I get that maybe other people were less kind. I also think that, I mean, yeah, I remember you talking about some of the artists that would come by the studio and like telling me about how some of them are just not very respectful of the work. I think there's something to be said about like how, like live music for the artist as well. I mean, yes, it is stressful, but also you kind of have that feeling from the artist side as well of like, okay, I'm just going to do this, and then when it's done, it's done. Like when I'm done with the show, I'm done with the show, and that's it.
Yeah.
I can go home, and everything will be, whatever happened. It's time to look forward to the next thing. And when you're recording an album, it's a much more obsessive process because it needs to be perfect, like and you know how it is working with me, like how sometimes I would get on you on the most like one note here that I want to hear stronger than the rest, or some bullshit like that, and you would be like, Ronnie, nobody's gonna notice that. And I would be like, yeah, but I'm gonna notice it, and it's important for me. And
Yeah.
we had those. So I get why, and I kind of wanted to ask you, following that, is there? It's it's a very big question, but is there, like, with everything that we've been talking about how artists nowadays don't even make money from recorded music, and then also for the sound engineers, like the rest of the industry as well, as a result of that, don't make so much money anymore from recorded music. So is there even a place anymore for recorded music? I mean, or should just artists be like live performers and that's it? Or maybe release like the
What kind of question
recorded.
is that?
It just
Stupid question.
Is it? Why is it a stupid
Yes.
question?
Because we love music. Come on, not everything's about money.
I mean, sure.
This is like what should anybody paint anymore? Because it's hard to make money on a painting. What are you talking
Okay.
about?
Yeah. I mean, sure. Yeah.
Especially now that you can do it yourself. I think that is just something that it's like this whole other path that people one second, I just gotta shoot off a text message. That the people they get into it, they have the old they have they have a desire to do it themselves. They have a can-do attitude and desire to do it themselves. And I was this person too before I ever got into anything. I was playing
mean the
around.
artist?
Yeah, I was a rapper, believe it or not. Rapper Dallas.
Yeah.
And I was not bad.
Which by the way, I have to say, he makes very awesome beats, and one of his beats is going to be featured on my next album as well that I've referenced before.
Right. And
yeah.
I have some old recordings that sound absolutely shit. Good, what I think are good songs that sound like shit. They're mixed like shit. The recording quality is shit.
Mhm.
But I was the one making them. That's cool. And let's see. I spent about $100 on an interface, maybe another 70 on a microphone, maybe 150 on the Ableton version that I had or whatever it was. So I spent $300 or $400 to get it going, if you walked into Sabella Studios with $300 as a rapper,
Yeah.
you would walk out of there with like 4, maybe 5. Like if you were prepared, you
Yeah.
had this shit well in like, let's see how many hours we were at a rate of $75 an hour. I want to do the math,
Right.
so I'm not being ridiculous. So
for $450 you could get 6
divided by
hours.
almost 6 hours, we
Yeah.
could walk. I've done 4 songs in 2 hours with really good rappers.
Mm-hmm.
Songs that are recorded on $10,000 microphones running through the, classic, and at a certain point it's like, okay, well, it all sounds good. Like maybe it's $10,000, but it's what's more important is the quality that's going through it. That's fine. Like I said, if you have good stuff and you're like, oh, I'm gonna do it myself, and it comes out like shit, when you could have spent less money to do it at an amazing quality, it's just hard for people to even know. I think there's like a lack of education that is out there surrounding this stuff, but it's also fun to do it yourself. So
Right.
I don't know. It's never been easier to make music yourself.
That's true.
And I think because of that, there's a lot of saturation out there of music.
I agree with you. Yeah.
I think it's probably the most important thing to remember is that if AI took everybody's jobs tomorrow and the government just said, you know what, where everybody's going to get an income, a basic income, live your lives.
Right.
I bet there would be 20 times as much recorded music would all of a sudden happen.
Oh, I bet.
It's just fun. It's really a fun process. It's nice to do.
Yeah.
So I don't think that there's ever going to be a time when people say, nah, I'm not going to record anymore. That's lame.
Yeah, no, I know. It was kind of a leading question, to be honest. And by the way, you mentioning AI, I just did a live stream last week where I was working with ChatGPT, and it wrote some music for me that I played. So, and it wasn't. I don't think it was good music, and it definitely wasn't like a complete piece. It was just like a bunch of chords, and I worked with them with my musicality and lyrics, of course. But yeah, I mean, yes, it would be interesting also to see, and it's actually a good lead for my next question. So you were talking about you doing some recordings in the past yourself, and then you said they sounded like shit. So obviously, even though it's much easier nowadays to make to do the mixing yourself, it's no guarantee that it's going to be any good. So I guess the question would be like, what is to you in your perspective, what does good sound constitute? Like, how do you get a good mix, a good sound to whatever music?
What? Sorry, I'm getting a really fucking annoying text messages right now that I kind of have to pay attention to, because we're supposed to have a band practice, and the guy who manages the room is saying that he forgot that he agreed to let somebody take all the drum hardware because they have a show.
Okay, well,
just take it all.
Well, good. I'm happy that you're still keeping with all the stupid musician bullshit that we all have to deal with. But focus back to. I just want to kind of get your what is a good sound to you? Like, what does it mean when you're hearing a song and you're saying it has good sound?
Well, that is what am I, a critic? I don't know, man. I mean, if I could tell you, I think it'd be easier to tell you what I would think is bad sound.
Okay,
And
there you go.
It would mostly be from purely audio perspective, like not really an artistic perspective.
Okay.
And like there are things that maybe people who don't have this kind of education or background would overlook in a recording, like extreme clipping, like from input gain levels that are too hot,
Mm-hmm.
I know what that sounds like, and sometimes it can be artistic, especially on drums, but other times, if somebody really doesn't know what they're doing, maybe their vocal is clipping and it just sounds like shit.
So
You know,
could you just say what does clipping means? Like,
it's oh my god. Can I take five? I gotta talk to this guy. Let me take five.
I mean,
I gotta take five. I'm taking five. I'll be right back.
all right. Okay. Well, I have no idea what to do with these 5 minutes, but anyway, uh, you know what? Let me just. There we go. All right. You know what? I'll turn the screen share back on, and we can watch a video from the bunker session, I guess, which is, I think it's a great video. I also wanted to show it earlier because it has some great sound, which is what we're talking about. So, and it's called "Song for Breakup." I might have played it here before, but yeah, uh, I think the if you listen to the cello part that the cello solo is playing, I think that's a great example of what at least I would consider to be good sound. And this is also mixed by Dallas, so you can get a view of his work as well. And we'll see if he gets back to us. We'll see. All right, awesome. So that was a song for Breakup by my band Enigama, uh, which we recorded back in 2019. Let me stop the screen sharing. And of course, mixed by Dallas. Yeah, I mean, I mean, we're almost at the end of the stream. Dallas is not going to return to us. That was a little bit abrupt, but I hope you got some, at least something from the conversation that I had with him. I think we talked about some interesting stuff. There were a couple of things even that I thought about while just watching this video right now, which is I chose it specifically because I remembered how much we, um, how much we talked when we were mixing this song, and how much the mixing process, like there was a bunch of. Oh, hold on, sorry, my bad. Hold on, let me just turn this off. Yeah. So yeah, we were talking about how when that solo part comes in, because I think I've talked about this before. This cello player was this Chinese girl that I found just a couple of, I think maybe a week before the session happened. And she was supposed to be just a cello player, just a part of the string section. But when I went to meet her just a couple of days before the session, and I heard her playing for the first time, first of all, she played amazingly. And then I also noticed that she has perfect pitch. And she could solo on the thing without even be given chords or anything like that. And she soloed amazingly. And there was one thing that she did when I met her at the little rehearsal that we had, just me and her, just the cello and the piano. She did these overtones, which you can hear if you listen to the video. It's those very, very high tones that you don't typically hear a cello make. Usually, a cello is sort of on the low ends of the sonic spectrum. It's like very, very low kind of sounds. But for the when she did the overtones, you almost hear like it's almost like a violin sound, but it's not. Like you can hear that it's different from violin. Anyway, I immediately fell in love with that sound, and I told her, well, I want you to solo. I want you now to be a part of this song with these overtones. And then it was recorded. And I remember my bassist, which, by the way, you saw in one of the earlier videos, Jose, who we talked a lot about the mixing. He was, as you saw, he was with me in Dallas's house when we mixed this thing. And we talked about this a lot. And he was always like, yeah, I don't like these overtones. I don't think it fits in here and all that. And I was like, listen, Jose, trust me. I know that it's going to sound good, because I had this, and I think this is like, I've always had this sound in my head of how I wanted my pieces of music to sound like, and each piece, it's its own case, right? But this was the first time that I had a very, very clear, specific kind of, I could hear in my head that I wanted this cello solo to be about loneliness and about solitude, and something about having those very high overtones that a cello plays, not a violin, but a cello. And I imagined this like with just a very minimal, like just a little bit of piano in the background, and just this very empty sound. Like there's this, like as if the cellist is playing alone inside like a big cave. It was just this very, very strong, I keep wanting to say image that I had in my head, but it's not an image because I heard it. It was like an audio image, if you will. Anyway, we spent a lot of time mixing this until it came out right. And when it came out right, and we heard it, for the first time, Jose looked at me and he was like, you know what? I get what you wanted to say. Like, I agree with you now. It sounds good. Now I understand why you wanted this to be in the song and why you wanted it to sound specifically like that. And I really think, this really ties down the whole thing about sound engineering, about the power of it to really bring out the vision of the composer or the musicians recording the if it's a band, like a couple of composers, doesn't matter, the artists, let's say the artists that are recording the music, um the right sound engineering can really bring these voices to life in a way that bad sound engineering can't. Because and I sort of agree with Jose in the story that I told you, because if this wasn't done by Dallas, if this was done by a lesser sound engineer, let's say, and he wouldn't be able to get like these cello overtones the way that I wanted them to sound like, it would sound like, I don't know, it would sound like a cat, like screech, like it wouldn't sound good. It would sound like just like these very thin, very high overtones. And here's the thing: when people listen to songs, as Dallas said in the interview, you don't notice these things because you're just hearing great songs. But if the sound engineering wasn't good, something would be wrong. You would hear something wrong, and you might not be able to quite know what it is, but you would be hearing that something is off. You would be hearing that something is not quite right. And I think that's the great power of sound engineering. At least, that's kind of what I learned throughout this process of working with good sound engineers. So yeah, so that's about it. So we're pretty close to the end here. We said we'll go for about an hour and a half, and it's about an hour and a half. But I just wanted to quickly talk to you about tomorrow. What we're going to have for our live stream tomorrow, which is going to happen at 11 a.m. Eastern time. On all of the various platforms that you might be getting this live stream on: Twitch, YouTube, Facebook, whatever. We are basically going to listen to some music that I like, and I think it's very, very varied. If you know me, you know that my musical taste is very, very varied. I'm literally one of those people that if you ask them like, "Hey, what do you listen to?" I'll be like, "Wow, that's a whole complicated answer right here." Like I really listen to a little bit of everything. Because for me it's all music. For me, I don't see genres so much as I see or rather I hear the sound quality of what I'm listening to. And the same way that when I asked Dallas, like, what is a good sound, and he couldn't really define it, well, I can't, it's hard for me to define it either, but I know it when I hear it. So tomorrow I'm going to play you a bunch of music that I like from various different styles, by the way. We're going to have completely esoteric, like progressive rock from Hungary, but we're also going to have like Johnny Cash and like people that you probably know, like Leonard Cohen and other artists that I love so much and do so much with like very minimal instrumentation and very minimal kind of sound. So that's going to be tomorrow. So please join me tomorrow at 11 a.m. Eastern time, and we're going to do that, and we're going to have a lot of fun, and we're going to try to dig deep, or at least try to look. I'm not a sound engineer myself, so I wouldn't be able to explain you like the really nitty gritty technical stuff, like, oh yeah, this is this kind of reverb and this is that kind of reverb. But I'm going to try to at least, talk about it in the way that I hear it. When I hear great sound, what am I hearing and why do I think that it's great sound? So tomorrow, 11 a.m. Eastern time on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, whatever you get these live streams on, wherever you get these live streams on. And thank you so much for being here today. Thank you so much thank you so much, Dallas, for being with us. And thank you for your support. Join me tomorrow. With that, this is Ronnie out.